What's up, everybody? Andrew Mahone here with Tricky Jim at Full Grip Games. Today, I'm going to be showing off an Archie's Blastoise deck capable of dealing 300 plus damage on the first turn of the game and gusting up whatever you want on your opponent's side of the field at the same time. Even with the new turn 1 rules, I still think Archie's is pretty good. Let's check out the list that we developed on Twitch. Archies is one of the most infamous decks in expanded format because of its explosive nature. If you're not familiar with the deck is a stage 2 deck. It's Blastoise deck, but you're going to notice there are no Squirtles, there's no Wartortles, there's no rare candies. It's just Blastoise, and you can spring that Blastoise into play using Archie's Ace in the Hole, which is a supporter card from Primal Clash, and it reads, you can only play this card when it is the last card in your hand. You get to put a water Pokemon from your discard pile onto your bench, then draw 5 cards. And if you're like me, then you like a challenge, and it's certainly pretty difficult to pare your hand down to just one card, that one card being the Archie's Ace in the Hole supporter, meaning you can't play a supporter to help get your hand down to one card. You just have to naturally draw into the cards you need to get your last card to be Archie's Ace in the Hole. But if there was a format where Archie's is a viable option, it's expanded format. Now, the deck has done well on the regional level in the past. However, with the introduction of the new turn 1 rules, players have definitely shied away from playing Archie's, and you almost don't see any of it on the ladder. Now, all decks are at an advantage going second, and I would argue that Archie's is no different. You want to go second so that you can play that Archie's Ace in the Hole, get your Blastoise out of the discard pile and into play, and use that Deluge ability, which allows you to attach as many water energy cards from your hand to your Pokemon during your turn as you like. Infinite. As soon as you get the Blastoise into play, the whole deck is like a faucet. You just turn it on and you just throw all the water energies down onto your Pokemon. And Battle Compressor helps you get as many cards as you want to the discard pile as you can. Each Battle Compressor discards up to 3 cards, and we got 4 Battle Compressor. So you can easily send those Blastoise to the discard pile and water energies to the discard pile, which might seem counterintuitive, but we got the superior energy retrieval to bring those back from the discard pile. You get to discard 2 cards from your hand and put 4 basic energy cards from your discard pile back to your hand. Now that sounds like a lot of discard. We've got Battle Compressors, we've got Superiors, Ultra Balls, Quick Balls, Computer Search, a lot of cards that require discarding in this deck, which is why we play the Propagate Exeggcute. It's one of the most broken cards in expanded format because it reads, once during your turn before you attack, this Pokemon's in your discard pile, you may put this Pokemon to your hand. So as often as you want. It says once during your turn, but when a card goes to the discard pile, all effects such as it being once during your turn are removed. So there is the ability to just keep putting it from your discard pile back to your hand. And if you have something in your hand that allows you to put it back to the discard pile, that means it can always come from the discard pile back to the hand. So that's an incredible ability. It allows you to do things like Ultra Ball for free, or Superior Energy Retrieval for free, or Quick Ball for free, or Computer Search for free. And you'll see while you're playing the deck, you'll do things like Quick Ball, Ultra Ball, Superior Energy Retrieval all in the same turn with the small hand, right? Your hand doesn't have to be very big because you've got the Propagate Exeggcute, which you can use to keep discarding over and over again, which is just incredible. It also combos well with the Great Catcher that we have added to the deck, and Great Catcher is an amazing addition to this deck. I would not play this deck without Great Catcher. Previously, lists had not really played Great Catcher. It's not live in the opening hand, but I would argue that your turn 1 consistency gets so much stronger with the addition of Quick Ball. You have more outs to Shaymin, more outs to Tapu Lele. Your turn 1 consistency is so strong with the addition of Quick Ball that you can afford to play Great Catcher. And Pokemon GX are so popular in expanded format that the Great Catcher sometimes helps you in your opening hand to pare down your opening hand and get it to an Archie state. So I would argue that the Great Catcher definitely helps more than it hurts. And if you are able to Archie and then get past your opening hand and you get the Blastoise out, then the Great Catcher is just pure gravy, because a lot of times your opponent will assume, since you played Archie's Ace in the Hole, that you cannot gust that turn. So usually the assumption is that you cannot gust on that first turn that you played Archie's. But with Great Catcher in the deck, you absolutely can, and it's amazing. You could bring up Arceus Palkia-GX. You could bring up Dedenne-GX. Knock them out easily on the first turn of the game. Now, our primary attacker in this deck is Mewtwo and Mew Tag Team GX, whose Perfection ability allows it to copy the attacks of any Pokemon GX or EX on your bench or in your discard pile. So we have a few options that we can copy from. We've got Magikarp and Wailord, whose Super Splash does 180 damage, and Towering Splash GX, which if you have 8 energy on your active Pokemon, which is not that hard to get, you can deal 100 damage to all of your opponent's bench Pokemon, which is why we play the Distortion Door Giratina in the deck, so that we can bring it out of the discard pile and put 1 damage counter onto one of our opponent's bench Pokemon and knock out Shaymin-EX, who has 110 HP. So that Towering Splash GX combined with the Giratina gets you 110 damage exactly, which means you can snipe 2 Shaymin-EX at the same time, taking 4 prizes in 1 turn, or even more if there's more Pokemon on the bench that have less than 100 HP with that Towering Splash GX. It's an absolutely incredible GX attack there. We also have Palkia-GX, whose Zero Vanish GX attack can be absolutely devastating against Turbo Dark decks. You shuffle all energy from each of your opponent's Pokemon into their deck. So if your opponent has really just hammed out their board state and gotten a ton of energy into play, you could Zero Vanish GX, shuffle all the energy back into the deck. Very good against Zacian, very good against Turbo Dark, very good against Pikarom. Definitely love that Zero Vanish GX, especially with Great Catcher in the deck. And Guzma, you could easily just bring up a Shaymin or something like that, and then knock out the Shaymin and shuffle all your opponent's energy back into the deck. Can be extremely disruptive. Then, of course, we've got Kingdra-GX, whose Hydro Pump does 10 damage plus 50 more damage times the amount of water energy attached to this Pokemon. And that means if you have like 6 water energy on your Mewtwo and Mew, copying Kingdra-GX, you can deal 310 damage, which is basically 1-hit KOs. Anything that you would want to 1-hit KO, and 6 energy is not really asking that much, considering that Superior Energy Retrieval gets 4 back from the discard pile, and we've got 10 water energy in the deck. Rounding out the rest of the deck, we have got 1 copy of Professor Juniper, 1 Tate Liza, which we use as a switch out, but also as a nice shuffle draw effect in case we need to shuffle our hand and draw some more cards without necessarily burning them, which does happen from time to time. As your resources get very tight towards the end of the game, Tate Liza is very good. You could play N there, but I really like the added switch effect, which could be very good, especially if Guzma is not an option for you, since you want to maybe attack whatever is in the active position. And then the 2 copies of Archie's Ace in the Hole. And that's it. It's a pretty simple deck, but it's extremely explosive and a ton of fun to play. Check out the gameplay and let me know what you think of Archies in year 2020 in the comments below. So we're going to get to go second here. This is definitely a deck that wants to go second every single game, since you can only Archies on the first turn of the game if you are going second. Previously, this deck did really well at the regional championship level because you were able to Archies on the first turn of the game going first. I still think that this deck has some merit, though, and does have some potential, even though you cannot Archies on that first turn of the game going first anymore. I mean, you can kind of just bide your time, wait for your moment to strike, and I think with Great Catcher in the list, you can really make the most of those turns where you finally do get to play Archies and get your get your Pokemon into play. So it looks like my opponent is going to get Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia out. There are just so many ADB decks in expanded format, that's for sure. The lure of the turn 1 Altered Creation GX is very promising. I mean, with double Dragon Energy, it's extremely easy to get that turn 1 Altered Creation GX in this format. Looks like my opponent's going for Shaymin to potentially set up as well. And our dream would be to bring up the ADP and knock it out turn 1. That'd be amazing. Or if my opponent puts 2 Shaymins down, to potentially Towering Splash GX. Now, it looks like they are not going to go any further. It's fine. We have the Magikarp and Wailord. A little bit tough to move because it's got a retreat cost of 4, so it's a little bit of a pain. Definitely going to order up first and see what we end up hitting. Yes, so we can pretty much guarantee it since we can go get ourselves the Computer Search. We can Computer Search away Kingdra and Blastoise for an Ultra Ball away those, and get ourselves a Lele, assuming Lele is in the deck. So let's take a look real quick. Make sure Tapu Lele-GX is in the deck. It is. Make sure Archie's in the deck. It is. Excellent. So we're just going to go get that, and we can Computer Search away the Kingdra and the Blastoise and go get ourselves Ultra Ball. And then with the Ultra Ball, we'll take the gold one. Yeah. Then we get to Ultra Ball away those. Go get ourselves the Lele and go from there. So we actually have to get rid of these. Yep. And then get the Tapu Lele-GX, and we can Wonder Tag. We can attach that energy to the active. We're going to Trainers Mail, see if we get like Battle Compressor or something. We've got Quick Ball. Quick Ball's also good. I actually got the Archie's Ace in the hole, so that's fine. We'll quick ball, and we are going to get rid of the water energy, just get ourselves a Mewtwo or something like that into play also. And then we can use Tapu Lele's Wonder Tag to get us the Archie's Ace in the hole and get that Blastoise out of the discard pile, spring it up into play. And we were laughing about on stream just how long these turn ones can take. It is pretty hilarious how extensive the turn ones can be with this deck. I mean, minutes upon minutes, which is hilarious. And, you know, thank you to Prof. Embor for letting me take this turn one here. Now, let's see. We do have the Great Catcher in the deck, so that's great. We're going to get some water energies into the discard pile, so that way we could potentially retrieval them back. Even just getting the turn one Super Splash would be really good. And we get to deluge 2 water energies onto the active. If we don't play a Floatstone in this list, we get to set up for 5. Thought about Scoop Up Nets. I mean, it's tough because Scoop Up Net's not a super playable card. We definitely want to heads here. It's not a super playable card for getting out of, you know, our hands, right? Getting out of our opening hands. It's not a burnable card. If you have to Scoop Up Net, you know, Shaymin or something like that, you're going to be drawing more cards with that. Now, we could either go full greed and just quick, you know, go Order Pad for the Ultra Ball and then just data change, see some more cards, see is the Dedenne in the deck. Dedenne is in the deck, so I think I want to just go for the Ultra Ball here. I'm feeling pretty confident that we're going to find some more stuff. So we just deluge 2 more water energies onto the active position. And then I'm pretty confident that we would be able to find ourselves a energy retrieval or something like that off of this data change, or at least 1 more water energy to take a knockout on the active. And sure enough, we've got energy retrievals. So we've got a lot. In fact, I could do a lot. I mean, we've got 4, 5, 6, 7 energy available to us. So let's take a look here real quick and see, do we find the Great Catcher off this Trainer's Mail? I've only got 1 egg in the discard pile, so we're going to see if maybe we can grab it. If I can grab that Great Catcher, we're going to knock out the Arceus Dialga Palkia on the first turn of the game. Big sad, that's fine. We don't mind because we'll just propagate here, take the energies out of the discard pile, and get our Pokemon loaded up. So we're going to Superior, get rid of Ultra Ball and the Exeggcute there, get ourselves 3 water energies out of the discard pile, and deluge those onto, you know, 1 onto the active, 2 onto this benched Mewtwo, and we could just Super Splash, 180 damage turn 1 with the Magikarp and Wailord. Feeling pretty good about that. Next turn, I can pretty easily, if they come up and use their Ultimate Ray or something like, or use Alteration GX, I can just retreat and knock it out with the Mewtwo, copying that Kingdra-GX out of the discard pile with a Hydro Pump attack. Hydro Pump does 10 damage plus 50 more for each water energy attached to that Pokemon. So with 6 water energies, you're doing 310 damage, and it's pretty easy to get 6 water energies onto your Pokemon. As you can see with this current hand, I have 7 water energies that I got into play on the first turn of the game. And I think that with every deck, I mean, every deck wants to go second in expanded format. Almost every single deck. So Archie's wanting to go second is no different than any other deck. And I would argue that going first is a huge disadvantage for almost every single deck. It doesn't matter what deck you're playing. So the argument that, yeah, you can't Archies on the first turn going first anymore is, you know, it's a sound argument. But I think that, you know, every deck is bad going first. So it doesn't really matter as much as maybe we thought that it mattered. Now we can retreat this thing. All of our energies going to the discard pile there, and we can just Superior Energy Retrieval. I'm going to propagate this and Superior Energy Retrieval, get rid of the Archies and the egg there, get those all into the discard pile, get those 4 water energies, and now I'm dealing 310 damage with Mewtwo copying the Kingdra-GX for an easy knockout on the ADP. Now this game, my opponent has chosen to go second, which is pretty par for the course in expanded format, so they're forcing us to go first. That's fine. And we start with the Giratina. I have to say, starting Giratina is definitely a little bit suboptimal. We don't love that. I think that I'm just going to start out my turn by getting, you know, some eggs and a Blastoise into the discard pile, like an Ultra Ball. some water energies, do some other stuff, and just set up a little bit. That's fine. They're probably going to be able to be pretty aggressive with this deck that they're playing, since it looks like it's a Chomp deck, right? So they might also play some sort of shenanigans that can put, you know, damage counters onto my Mewtwo and Mew and then prevent it, you know, if they play the Shadow Box Mimikyu or whatever. So we don't necessarily want to give them that either. So I'm thinking if we want to even go for the Mewtwo, or do I want to go for like Magikarp and Wailord? Certainly fine, can deal 180 damage, and then Towering Splash too. So I think the Magikarp and Wailord is a fine Pokemon to get. And then we're going to set up and draw some cards as well, and just see what my opponent ends up doing on their first turn. So we've got ourselves kind of a gnarly hand here, but that's okay. We got 2 energy in the discard pile and Shaymin, so we'll just wait and see what they do. They could N us, which would be really sweet for sure, and they could end up just knocking out the Giratina, which would be a welcome thing to do, since I don't want that in the active position. Now we could Tate Liza, Juniper, whatever. That's probably fine. It would take a turn or two to set up the Archies, but once we get that Archies set up, then, you know, the whole deck opens up. We're able to deluge infinite amounts of energy onto our field and just go from there. It looks like they're playing Marnies too, Metal Energies, and the Chomp. Not exactly sure what the Metal Energies and the Chomp have in common here, as far as what the glue is going to be, the bond Metal and Chomp together. Maybe there's Zacians in here too. A lot of times in Expanded we see Dragon decks just comboed with Zacian. They're both really good cards, right? So it might just be an early linear attack. A lot of Chomp decks are playing Tapu Koko Prism Star, because you're able to just use that Tapu Koko Prism Star to accelerate lightning energies onto your Garchomp Giratina with the Double Dragon. Get the turn 1 Calamitous Slash. Now, as it turns out, that Marnie actually really helpful. It's going to pare my hand down and get it just right for a potential Archie's play. We've already got the Blastoise in the discard pile, which is fantastic. If I hit this Order Pad, we have it. If I hit the Trainers Mail into something good, we can also get it. Quick Balls, Ultra Balls, all that can open up the possibility to turn this hand into an Archie's hand. So we definitely don't mind that. Now, as I've said previously, I think the Great Catcher edition in the Archie's deck is just like really cool. I think Great Catcher is one of my favorite cards in Expanded right now, with how many decks just have tag team Pokemon. And Expanded is the tag team format. It really is. It's the tag team GX format for sure, with all of the best trainer cards, item cards from the past almost decade involved with Expanded format. Then it just makes sense that you take the most powerful Pokemon and combo them with the most powerful trainer cards, and you get some of the most powerful decks that the Pokemon trading card game has ever seen. Now, I actually do have the Archies in this hand. I can Battle Compressor, Archies, Order Pad, so on and so forth. So let's see first what we get off of the Trainer's Mail. We've actually just have the Archies, so that's fine. We'll just get another Battle Compressor instead. I don't think that there's too much else that we need to do. And we're going to Battle Compressor a bunch of stuff, Order Pad, and go from there. So that's pretty cool. And then with Order Pad, there's not too much else that I really even need. We get just about everything we could possibly want here. So let's just take a look. We're going to thin the entire deck out to make sure that we get all the things that we don't need into the discard pile. So we've got the Palkia, the Kingdra, the Blastoise, and that's good for that one. We're also going to send some waters as well as the Archies, because I have Versus Seeker in my hand, so we can bring that Archies Ace into the hole back into the hand, and we're going to send those two to the discard pile as well, so that I can retrieval them out. And then honestly, we might just use that Order Pad if we flip ahead, get one more Battle Compressor, and see if we can really thin this deck out. We can go the energy onto the active, and then we're just going to use Versus Seeker, Archies, get that Blastoise out, draw 5 cards. Hopefully they are 5 good ones. We definitely want to see a Shaymin or something like that. Ultra Ball would be good. We'll order up, see if we get, yes, Computer Search. We can really just keep grinding here. See how many energy are in my discard pile. 4. That's fine. So I do like the Computer Search, and with 4 energy already in the discard pile, there's not much that I actually need to get here off of this Battle Compressor. So we'll just thin the deck a little bit more, get Archies into the discard pile, get probably, how many Verse Seekers are in the deck? There's 2 in my hand and none in the deck. So we're going to keep all of our supporters in there. And that Ultra Ball can probably go. And that's pretty good. And that Lele can probably go. So we're going to get those guys into the discard pile. Then we're going to computer search away these and really just get ourselves Quick Ball. See Chaotic Swell. Yeah, I can Field Blower the Chaotic Swell, which is nice. We're going to get Quick Ball. Quick Ball is going to get Shaymin. We can propagate to the Exeggcute Field Blower here and just draw some more cards. We're really just looking for a bigger hand here with energy retrievals, energy, so on and so forth. And the computer search helps us to really pare that hand down. This is the kind of deck that would really like to play Skyfield because of the fact that you're just doing so much, right? And you can see we got that Great Catcher on this turn. It's really not that hard to get the Great Catcher to your hand. And at this point, I've got both the eggs down because you draw so much of your deck. You see, we've only got 14 cards left in our deck. You really get down to the, you know, bare bones resources here very quickly with the deck. And I could just swing in with the Magikarp and Wailord. Certainly not the worst thing in the world. We're going to superior this. Get 4 energy. And we do need to deluge some of those to the active. Using my GX attack with the Magikarp and Wailord, it's not going to be the most useful thing. We didn't hit a Mewtwo, so not going to be able to do that. We just retreat here into the Magikarp and Wailord. 14 cards left in deck. I could knock out the Dedenne. I think at this point I probably am more set on trying to knock out the Garchomp and Giratinas. They can deal 100 and 240 damage to me, which is not a knockout with the Tina Chomp, so that's fine. And then we'll just propagate twice and retrieval again and just get even more energy back to our hand. And that way I can just load those onto the Magikarp and Wailord. Now after I end up maybe using Super Splash with this thing, then maybe we will get ourselves into a position where I want to gust and use Towering Splash, but you know, that's a pretty good turn for us, 180 damage with the Magikarp and Wailord. We would like to have a Mewtwo for sure. My opponent's telling me well played, and you do get a lot of scoops with this deck. I mean, you just have some of the craziest turns I've ever seen in the Pokemon trading card game. This is the biggest combo deck I think that there has ever been, right? Or at least the most popular combo deck that there ever was. The Archies Blastoise, getting that Blastoise into play on the first turn, and it's one of the only Stage 2 decks in both standard and expanded format that has any legs. And the reason why it's one of the only Stage 2 decks that can survive is because it revolves around using big basic Pokemon, and you don't have to set up your Stage 2. You can set up your Stage 2 instantly, right? Which is just incredible. So Magikarp and Wailord are going to bite the dust there. They got the Muscle Band off the Guzma and Hala to take that knockout, but that's fine. I'm confident that we can take out the Garchomp and Giratina and then finish off that Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia for game this next turn. So we would like to top deck into a Pokemon search. That would be good. We've got Quick Ball, great. And then we're just going to give him the smiley face, telling me well played. That is definitely funny. So we're going to go here. And we are going to get ourselves Mewtwo and Mew. And then we're just going to Juniper into our deck and see what we come up with. So let's go here. And we got the Mewtwo and Mew. We've got 2 retrievals still left in the deck and 2 energy. I don't think that I actually need to play the Dedenne. I think I can afford to just Juniper this. Now my deck is getting very small, but that's fine. I should have all of the resources here that I need to close this game out. We are just going to propagate a couple of times, and then we can superior. I like keeping all these items in my deck as well. Just gives me some more options. We're going to superior those energies back into our hands, so we'll get those 5. And I do have to be careful. There's not a lot of energy left in my deck, but like I said, I don't think that my opponent is going to have a way to deal with this runaway Mewtwo. It just has all of this energy on it. We're just going to load up all 6 just in case something bad happens to my Blastoise. We retreat there. And we're just going to Hydro Pump for, 310 damage. Now, this next turn, all I have to do is Guzma for game. I know that there are a couple of water energies left in my deck, and there is an ADP here, which is worth 3 prizes. So we could pretty simply just find that Guzma, even if I get End or Marnied or whatever. All we need is an energy and a Guzma to piece together the game-winning combo, and that Arceus Dalgam Palkia, and there's not much that my opponent can do to stop this thing. It's doing 300 damage, 270 HP. We've got the Kingdra-GX in that discard pile there, hydro pumping for just insane amounts of damage. And I have to say, playing this deck on stream, it's been a lot of fun. It's certainly very explosive. It kind of reminds me of the Turbo Ho-Oh deck. And with the explosiveness of the deck going second, you're definitely able to punish a lot of the big ADPs we see running around in expanded format. And there are just tons and tons of ADPs in expanded format. It's one of the most popular cards in expanded. I think that the lure of playing the double dragon energy with the ADP is just very enticing. Getting that turn 1 Alter Creation GX, and that strategy, you have to give up a turn in order to do that in expanded format. You have to forfeit a turn, right? You use the Alter Creation GX for no effect, and the idea is that you will catch up later. But there are so many decks in expanded format that just go straight from the get-go. They have the most explosive turns that I've ever seen in the history of the Pokemon trading card game. The Turbo Ho-Oh deck being one of them. Archie's Blastoise being another. And I think that with new cards from Rebel Clash, especially Quick Ball as well, the Archie's deck gets a lot more consistent. It's not from Rebel Clash, Quick Ball is from Sword and Shield, but still, I think that Archie's just gets more consistent with these cards. I mean, you could even mess around with Scoop Up Net, though, like I said, Scoop Up Net, cool, because it picks up Shaymins you could reuse maybe at the end of the game. But I would be a little bit wary of that since Scoop Up Net is a super dead card in the opening hand. It looks like they just have to Intrepid Sword, and we've got Mewtwo and Mew swinging for the fences here. 300 and 10, 300 and 60 damage there on the ADP, and that's game. So I think that this deck certainly still very busted, as we can see. I mean, the concept is there. Getting the energy into play is pretty easy. I think that if you're worried about Ultra Necrozma, you could get a second copy of Field Blower into the deck, which would certainly help with that matchup, and I think that that would be a valid consideration as well. But Archie is definitely a blast to play. If you've never played the deck, I highly recommend it because it is just a very fun combo deck, and it's got all of the most broken qualities of expanded format packed into one insane deck. You get to use Mewtwo and Mew Tag Team GX. You get infinite energy acceleration. You get to play a stage 2 Pokemon, which you almost never get to do in the Pokemon trading card game anymore. And you get to use Battle Compressor. You get to use Exeggcute, right? It's just got all of those really cool, crazy, broken effects in expanded format packed into one. Very fun to play deck. So that's going to be it for the video. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to like the video, sub to the channel, ring that bell, and of course, check out FullGripGames.com for all your trading card game singles, as well as FullGripCodes.com for instant PTCGO code delivery. Supporting the shop at Full Grip Games directly supports the content we create here on Tricky Jim. And I built this particular list live on Twitch with the Twitch community. So if you have not already, make sure to drop by the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/TrickyJim, and give the channel a follow. Stream live Pokemon trading card game content every single weekday on Twitch, and it is a blast. In fact, a lot of the YouTube videos, they start out as ideas we came up with as a community on Twitch. So make sure to check out the Twitch stream if you have not already, and have a busted day. Take it easy, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.